Hi everybody, this is Joanna. Thank you so much for tuning in. Woohoo! Woohoo! We're here! Right here! Here and now! It's all there is, really? Right? I wanted to talk about a huge epiphany that I had. So huge. So huge. It brought everything into realization about my own multiverse experience, and we talked about the bottleneck of our collective in this particular known universe and how the collective had shown me years ago from a top-down perspective. This is a side perspective, but a top-down perspective, this is what they showed me. I'm giving this to you in a side perspective of how micro macro, all that we are as the cells of source, shifting into greater paradigms of becoming. At the multiverse perspective, this is our universe, and we're only using the words that we're using because these are the words that we know, but it's a multi-vibrational experience, and not necessarily in the ways that we know it to be, because at a multiverse level we just don't know. We only have the words for our level of consciousness, but it's not this. I'm only giving it to you in our explanation that this would be our universe. This would be a universe that we are shifting up into, vibrational threading, as same micro macro that we each go through as we release the old dense aspects of who we are through the limiting programs and the filters that we've chosen to take on. We allow for those vibrational threadings to be accessed by pressing through the bottleneck, which is that kind of congestion of energy for those three factors that the Council of Nine had given me. The fear of the unknown, losing friends and family because of the misunderstanding about the transition of all life, having it be more expansive and more greater than we ever thought. And there was one other thing about the bottleneck. And those three collective experiences were holding the consciousness collective in a kind of a congestion, which is called the bottleneck. But it takes those of us that are code breakers, and of course many others, and many other bathing from the sun and all of the various factors that go into pressing into new paradigms of light programs. It takes for each and every one of us to understand that each and every one of us are the evolutionaries of who we are as the micro macro of source, and why it's so important that each and every one of us are uniquely the commanders and the leaders and the masters of our own paradigm of light, our own epicenter of light, which is us. We are the epicenter of light. Again, micro macro, multiverse. This would be a higher vibrational universe. This would be where we are now, and this would be the vibrational universes we're coming from that are also going through ascension. They're threading up into our universal template. It's vibrational templates, if you will. Again, they're only the words that we have, but these are the words that we're using to explain, because we are also transforming into our higher vibrational templates, our light body. Do you see what we're saying? It's a micro macro. And we do so through the infinity of releasing what no longer serves. But we say that, and they're cliche to say that, but that's not really what's happening. You're just transmuting your old energies into new energies. And source creator, the omnipresence, the all, spirit, God, transmutes what we are not alchemizing. And that is what's meant by letting go. It never ever goes anywhere. It's always you. It's always you and source. But they're just the words that most people have. But when you understand it at an alchemic level, it never goes really anywhere. It's all you and source. Source just transmutes what your body and your fields and your vibrational energies and essence doesn't require, and it gets transmuted through source, through the all, through higher vibrational light. It's a very elegant, diverse, incredibly intricate, benevolent program of light and evolution. And why it's important that each and every one of us get to choose through free will where each and every one of us are. Micro, macro, we are in a state right now through which we're constantly evolving to higher potentiation. Higher potentiation meaning that greater light is accessing the threads of who we are as multidimensional beings. Physical, mental, emotional, etheric, essence, creating matter. We are spirit creating matter. Those light from within us, the soulful urges that we have as energy of light, we want to reconnect with source, we want to explore, we want to expand, we want to express. Those are those natural soulful essences that we just want to press out and be more source, explore more source, be diverse in source. Those internal energies allow us to access and call in those greater light packages, those greater light codes of who we are, from within, from without. It's a multidimensional process. Your higher self and your soul will activate those certain densities to be released when you're clear and you're processing, you're integrating, and you're honoring all that you are becoming. And it's a multidimensional process that we've written about in our books. and today was an epiphany that I just wanted to soak and be present with, because it was my understanding of, you know, why I came here and why I faced many of the challenges that I did. And the crux of my experience was not having those around me in any environment that I had experienced that were truly excited and wanting, with a great excitement and with great fervor, if you will, to experience, explore, and express the many and vast ways that we can as energy. And, you know, in the times that I tried to express myself or co-create in who I was as a spirit, I found it very limiting and very, you know, a huge denial of life, if you will, because there was, every time I would go to create something profound and beautiful, it was knocking up against limiting systems that either told me, no, it's not valued, it's not valid, that's evil, what are you doing? You can't have greater wisdom than someone else. You can't transcend what the textbooks say. You can't transcend egocentric professors that, you know, sense that they think that they know things, and you're coming in with something brand new that is not proven by any statistic. And so there's all of these paradigms that we're always breaking and pushing against and rubbing against. But that's those crucible moments where, instead of resisting it, you just let go. Because what I was experiencing today was that that transitional experience where we're at that choice, and we can only get it through ourselves. We only get it through the alchemy of ourselves. That when you're sitting in those moments and you're saying, okay, why am I feeling the constant resistance of the resistance, as we talked about in our video? And understanding that it's the natural flow of who you are and you are becoming. That, you know, that pearl in the clamshell, if you will, and it constantly, that friction and that catalytic energies of you with you, micro, macro, that you, with all the other versions of you that you've called in to reflect those inner stories of what you're here to transcend. And part of my inner story was, okay, well, I wanted to get to the crux of it. I said, you know, regardless of everything that I've just gone through, all the releases that I've got to a certain level of understanding and acknowledgement and acceptance within myself. And now I'm ready for something new. So, but what does all that mean? Where do I go now? This rebirth process was that the epitome of my life experience, and through my eyes and through my experience of an essence of soul and my soul's contract and my soul's blueprint. Knowing that my level of life is going to change and it's going to be dramatically different, and it's expansive of exploration and expression. And so as I was sitting there and just soaking within it, of course, my teams, they're so beautiful and they're so, you know, gentle and so patient with me. You know, in all of my frustrations to the universe, like, what does this mean? I don't know what this means. You know, and trying to understand, because as an empath and as a crystal, and this is the part of the epitome that just is mind-boggling to me. And part of what we're offering, those of you that are leaders and healers and teachers that are pressing out against those bubbles of friction that constantly push you back. This is my own interpretation, because I am able to feel things at an experientially rich level. You know, it's a multidimensional experience. Connection for me is a multidimensional experience. I can feel everything very richly. And part of my sadness, part of my dismay, part of my disappointment, part of my constant pushing, that's that catalytic story that keeps pushing and calling in beings and characters that ultimately don't serve my soul's fulfillment, if you will. It does in the learning process, it does in that pushing through that next gate, but it doesn't fulfill that soulful heart blessing that is that, you know, this is it. I feel satisfied and fulfilled and benevolently served, if you will, at that soul level, because I'm able to feel and experience things at a multidimensionally rich experiential level. And it's been very lonely, because there's very few that want to meet me at that level. There's very few that want to go that way. There's very few that want to press out and reach out and have them also uplift me in that same manner, to allow me that expression, that exploration, and that experience. And so, but that was the epitome of my underlying life experience, because in all the things that I've created and all of the beautiful, you know, the beautiful illustrations and all of that catalytic, you know, the friction to create that light, that friction to create that light, that friction to create that light, the wisdoms and the oneness and the wholeness were always within me. nothing that I would have ever found outside of me to fulfill that. Oh, I just feel so beautiful. That's just what I feel. That's what I've been aching for and looking for, trying to seek it in those outside experiences. However, as the soul ascending, as the soul evolving, we have to seek it in outside, because that's how the inner reflects itself to itself for that growth. So as we're in a physical reality, that's what that's the experience. That's the journey. And there was never anything that was fulfilling me in that way. It's just that I want to experience source in all the ways that I'm able. And there was, everywhere I turned and everywhere I looked, there was so many that were just so turned off. They just weren't ready, didn't care, didn't want to. It was like fanciful experience that, only a few had, and, it wasn't that important, but it was really important for me. But that's what I got to today. That was the reinvention of who I am. That now I get to say with great honor and with great gladness and with great fancifulness that everything that I've been through as the story of me, that underlying catalytic friction that was that making of the pearl, if you will, was the disappointment and the sadness that I was so alone in the exploration and the experience that I'm able to have with life. Because it was like me and source, like this invisible world that I was always experiencing, but nobody ever to share it with. And so that was profound, because that allowed me to break away everything that I experienced and thank it and bless it all the way. Because without those experiences, I wouldn't have been able to get to this beautiful pot of gold, the treasure that's held within the heart that Jesus always talked about. And so I was sitting in just that reflection, and I was just like, I was trying to soak it for everything that it was worth, because like for a very long time, I was saying to my teams, like, why do I feel this? Why do I feel this friction that I cannot resolve? Like, I keep trying to get to the core of it, and I could not get to the core of it. And I finally got to the core of it today. I was just like, oh, I'm going to soak this for everything, for all it's worth, because that's where the alchemy is. That's where you transmute all of those old energies of who you have always been and were told that you were. Those disappointments of nobody understanding you and rolling their eyes at you and not feeling as if you ever fit anywhere with anyone. This is just my own personal experience, but this is really important for crystal children and all the children that are on our planet awakening and the mass awakenings that are going on, because there will be so many coming to light to say that, well, I never had full emotional expression and fulfillment. So how do I get that? How do I heal that? These are pinpoints of expressionary evolution that I've gone through, transmuting those old versions of me, because when I came as a package, as a higher vibrational being, I was condensed and packaged in limitation in every way, physically, mentally, emotionally, and energetically. And when I did cry out, literally cry out, the spirit itself was crying out to express who I was. It wasn't understood by anybody. And that was purposeful. It wasn't meant to. There's no sadness. I mean, yes, there was sadness, because it would have been nice to have that acceptance throughout my life, but I'm getting that acceptance now for me. I get to say that everything that I've created has been so beautiful. What I've done is create all of that friction and sadness and disappointment, and I've transmuted it into something that's really beautiful for me. How I can explore energy and create energy and use it as a healing modality. And that's my unique expression that I've gifted to humanity, and what was one of my experiences that I came here for through the divine creators, to say that I want to be a vessel of light and pour all of my gifts from all of my timelines and bring something beautiful that's uniquely from me. And this is just like the epiphanies that just unrolled this morning. It was just like the sussing out of who I was, the sussing out and alchemizing of what I was told, the sussing out and alchemizing of what others projected for me, the sussing out of the limitations of the roles and the definitions of motherhood, the divine feminine that has never been exemplified and lifted and empowered in our human history for thousands of years, how we've literally been written out of history. And the handful of few women that have gone forward in that vibrational leadership and divine cosmic beauty and elegance of great wisdom and nurturing and healing are few and far between. And part of my soul's journey is to alchemize all that I am, just to come to that point without sadness or resistance or friction, and say that I'm absolutely okay with peace and sigh. I've figured myself out for the first 51 years, and it's been an incredible, beautiful journey. And every step along the way, and every person that has alchemized all of those experiences with me, I get to blessedly release now, because I get to own and I get to claim and I get to reinvent and I get to rewrite me in this now moment from my rebirth, to say that I am very rich in experience of vibration. And I get to own it and not feel bad about it, not feel suppressed about it, not feel like I don't fit, not feel like someone doesn't get me, not feel like it's disappointing for others, not feel like it's evil and devilish and voodooish, whatever the words are that people want to explain, things they don't understand. It's a heartfelt owning and recognition and honoring of me, that I'm vibrationally rich. And for the rest of my life, until my last breath, I'm going to experience and bless myself in my experientially rich passion. I can experience source in an infinite number of ways. And it's been hard for me to kind of encapsulate and yet be expansive and infinite and eternal in that experience, in saying it, in offering it. Because I've also tried to keep myself away from defining and titles and all of those things, because it limits, it boxes me. And that's what I've experienced my whole life, that I was trying to get away from, constantly running and pushing at things so that I could be that vast, butterfly, and that vast, elegant, graceful being that just gets to fly and soar wherever I want and experience source wherever I want. That is the liberation and the sovereignty that is the Christ consciousness. And so in doing so, and coming down to these epiphany revolutions, is that all of those moments through which I was felt boxed in and labeled and titled and patterned and wrapped in tiny little things and trying to be, placed within smaller confines, that I get to choose in this rewrite that I am utterly in manifestational guidance of who I am, and only source and I. And I've said that for a while, but today I actually felt it, and it was an alchemy, and everything in my chakras was just like, whoa. And it was just such a rich release, because there were so many densities that I had been projected on in those limitations that we take on throughout our life. Projections from society about who women are and how wise they are, based on outdated patterns and paradigms of egocentric experience that have been male dominated through our entire thousands and thousands of years, and how we have been vibrationally limited in every way, And those are imprints and those are energies that we pick up from our planet, from releasing these dense energies that we have to transmute because we've created them. We get projected from our families, our lineage, our dogma, our religions, our education systems, everything. We're constantly bombarded with energies that we have to transmute. And those of us that are empaths and crystals, we take it on all on, unless you're setting up your boundaries and you understand yourself as multidimensional. That's part of the healing process. And why some of us feel so many times like it's just like, I remember many times just getting to that point where you feel such apathy, because it doesn't matter how much you try, it doesn't matter how much light you bring, it doesn't matter how much you understand, it doesn't matter how much wisdom you bring. It's like there always seems to be that level of dissatisfaction and unfulfillment, because there's very few along for the ride with you. And that's the whole journey of intimate soulful sharing, is you get to have that soulful source experience, very rich and very dynamic and very profound at a soul level, that source experiential level, so that there's those with you along the ride that want to inspire you as you inspire them at that experientially rich level, if you will, where you're not judged, where you're not demeaned, where you're not devalued because it's different, or because it's whatever it might be in other people's eyes. Because infinite number of people will see it in an infinite number of way, and that's fine. That's their truth, but it doesn't make who I am. I understand who I am, and I know who I am, and that's all I care about. Part of my epiphany was to finally say that in all of the resistance and all of the friction and all of the not fitting and all of the non, I get to now say, well, it was all me. Because what they were showing me was that they were all aspects of me that I had denied and I had separated. So to become one within the beauty of your now evolving, it's always inclusive and it's always whole, which means that those were aspects of you that you took on as a belief, if you will, because you sensed it at a subtle level. And because it was in another program, it was in another filter. A filter is a veil of energy that we choose to take on so that we can understand the psyche at a different level, at the soul at a different level. In my own circumstances, because I can understand the psyche and the multidimensional experiences of where we are and who we are through ascension, I chose to take on varying filters along the way, even though I had cleared enough of my karma and I had done enough of the work. I chose extra filters to take on so that I could go further and deeper and wider into the depths of the human evolution for varying galactic and planetary and celestial programs, because it affects the DNA, it affects evolution. So everything that I'm seeing, I'm feeding back to councils. Everything that I'm going through multidimensionally, and why I can feel things that an experientially rich experience, is that I'm working on other councils that are understanding this, and we're transmuting it, and we are creating other light programs, and we're expanding consciousness in different ways. We're creating better grids, we're creating better dynamics in the galaxy. So it's a multidimensional experience that I'm moving through. But it's been very, very lonely, because there's been nobody along with me on the journey besides nature and spirit that are allowing me to reverberate back the experiential richness that I desire and that depth that I desire. They're great now. I can actually embrace it now and say those were all of those frictions within me, that all those filters I took on from an infinite number of perspectives, inner and outer. Remember, it's micro macro, and I'm explaining it to it as filters. It's just like a piece of clothing you put on, a filter. I choose to put this filter on today, but it's not mine. It's not who I am as source essence. I'm putting it on today so that I can see the world in a different way. Therefore, I get to say the multidimensional perspective through which others move about. Therefore, I can bring the richness of who I am as source and create various teaching materials so that those that are moving through their mass awakenings, feeling stuck and feeling not emotive, can move through certain aspects of what we call blocks or filter psyche wounds. So it's just understanding it in different ways so that you can conceptualize and cognize where you are and why you go through what you go through, and why you attract what you attract. And so it was a beautiful experience. And so today we wanted to just offer the beautiful epiphany through which I've moved through, because I mean, I offer what I do through the passion and the exploration and the beauty of who I am as, beautiful spirit in matter form, and why I've gone through all of the experiences that I have and never feeling really fulfilled. Emotionally, mentally, physically, or energetically. And so today we wanted to call it, my teams and I, as we were writing out our epiphany, it's called the eternal beauty of you, because the beauty that you are as source is constantly being eternally alchemized. You're constantly shifting and changing who you are. And we've called it the epicenter of who you are, the epicenter of all that you are is light. Not taking anything outside of you. We've called them, they're going to be filters of those projections and those energies and those thought patterns, societal, lineage, akashic, familial, whatever you want to call it, that this filter is. How you feel less than, how you feel lack, how you feel not understood, how you feel not fit, whatever it might be. Those are filters of psyche energy that you've taken on that block that pure essence of light that you are. It has to be transmuted. So that's why that daily self-care is so important, so that you can just go within and say, this story keeps coming up for me. Let's get to the root of this story. And which I've been doing for months and months. And it just kept eluding me. It kept being so evasive, because I wasn't, what did they say? I want to get what they said here. Because you wanted to allow yourself the experience of source in all ways, and releasing the ideologies, the programs, the definitions of the outer systems and the outer people that have projected them to you and onto you. And that's when you become totally aware, as we've said so many times, become totally aware of who you are as the epicenter of light, calling your higher light from all that you are, your higher self, your source and your soul center that's coming up. You're living as the soul. You're clearing, and you're doing that daily clearing and cleansing on your fields and your aura. You're calling up any of the chakra wounds that are still waiting for you to acknowledge, as I did this morning. This was at a soul level, this omnipresent experience of divine feminine limitation. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. This friction was about me accepting who I am as source. The friction I've created of not accepting that greatness, because in the other timelines and in the other experiences and in the society for thousands of years, it has been very dense and very tragic and very harmful, uncomfortable, irritating, agitating, anything that is uncomfortable, to the point of being, harmful to the body and the soul itself. Because if there is nothing for me at an experiential level to have that other feedback with at that same or similar experiential level, then it becomes very harmful for me in my multidimensional presence to stay as the light that I am. I need that experiential vibrational match to allow me to continue the light feedback that I have with the universe. I can't stay in vibrational environments that are not nourishing me in a multidimensional way. And so the next best shift is you creating that catalyst, that friction in the clam, if you will, to say you've got to get to the bottom of it. And that is the full acceptance of your beauty and your greatness, and stop making yourself small so that others feel comfortable. And those are things that I've said over the years, but today the alchemy went through me. I got it. I alchemized it. And that's when you actually get it. That's when those programs and those filters can be taken off. And Spirit says with your teams, remember, it's a multidimensional experience. Your soul, your higher self, your healing teams, your ascension teams, the karmic board, everybody is with you when you go through profound moments like that. Because you get it at a soul level. And it fans out to your soul family, your oversoul family, your oversoul of oversoul. Everybody in creation feels that alchemic shift. Make no mistake about it. Make no doubt about it. That's why I can feel it. And it feels profound. It feels like, yes, I got it. I actually got it. I've alchemized all of those frictions every day of my life. And I've alchemized it, and I've realized it. I've acknowledged it. I've accepted it. And yes, I'm allowing myself to come new again. And you get to throw off all of those filters and patterns. And you get to throw off all the projections. And for me, for 51 years, it's been quite a friction. It's been really quite a friction. And I'm so ready, and I'm so glad to say the door is closed on all of those friction moments, because it's all been a part of me. I'm accepting it. I'm owning it. I'm honoring it. It's been really, really great. But now it's time for me to be this bigger version of me. And my soul absolutely wants to shine. And I want to come to higher vibrational soul fragments and crystal fragments of the higher self, constantly meeting with the lower self. Because remember, as my lower consciousness self rises up, another higher self consciousness comes down, and we meet, and then we start harmonizing, and it keeps going. And that activation in of itself helps activate everybody that I'm in my intimate circles with, along with all creation. So again, it's a multidimensional micro macro, just as if, the multiverse, the bottleneck has just been shifted, because everybody that I'm connected with in all of my timelines, my soul families and soul families of soul families, all, this is me and source. This is me and my epiphany this morning, and all lifetimes I've ever taken, all soul bodies, all forms, all planets, all galaxies, everything that I've had experience with. When I release this very dense pattern and program, the filter that I have carried about divine feminine, not being valued, not fitting in, high vibrational beings on this planet that have never been accepted in the ways that I so far in my timelines have remembered. Remember, now that I'm reaching this level of consciousness, awareness, and acceptance, I will now start to remember those timelines where high vibrational beings actually were very well honored and valued and celebrated, just as Jesus Christ, just as Elvis Presley. He was a high vibrational being. And he found it very difficult and challenging to express his similar level of unfulfillment, not being accepted, not feeling like he ever fit in. But that ripples, and that allows for that beautiful source essence space, light space, to filter and go. Remember, it's a top-down spiral. And that space that was just made up from my releasing those patterns of programs of density and limitation for the divine feminine, being like, I just see it being tied, not being able to spread wings. The divine feminine saying, well, your voice isn't that valid. The dreams that I've had about divine feminine being, I had a video this week, and it was kind of emotional, because I woke up from this dream, and I was in this, I have a lot of dreams about school, and I was in this class, and I was talking to the professor, and I had brought up this really beautiful epiphany to this professor. And he barely listened to me, barely heard me, didn't want to. He felt immediately, because of my beingness and my package, if you will, that immediately he disregarded and disrespected what I had to say as anything less than non-intelligent, because of being divine feminine. And in my heart, I knew absolutely that what I was saying was very profound, because it was my source and I. I mean, when I feel source, it's source in me. I feel it. It's a threading. And it was very profound, and it was true for me. And it was very profound because it broke the bottleneck of whatever was written in the book that he was a part of teaching, and that was forever in the systems of limitation. But because it was a divine feminine presenting this to the professor that was male and steeped in egocentric experiences where a divine feminine were never taken seriously, were never paid any honor of level of self-respect to be lifted in their great honor of who they are in the multidimensional ways that we've come, that it was a very sad experience. And then as I stood back and I just questioned his energy projection to me in that disregard that he was, throwing at me like a joke, of devaluing my offering, he put his pen to his breast, his chest, and did a little titty gun, like that Austin Powers movie, Shag Me or whatever. And although the girls had those little titty guns. And I got very emotional. I started crying, and I woke up out of my dream, because it's been eons and thousands of years that women, divine feminine, the divine feminine energy, remember, each and every one of us walk with divine energy males and divine male energies. So the divine feminine and divine masculine have to work in harmony. And when we're not working in harmony, we have an imbalanced society, the egocentric domination that has been going on for thousands of years. Not honoring the divine feminine, why our history has been written out of any capacity of equality, in any manner, of the divine feminine even being present in any evolutionary experience through human history. Pockets here and there of divine feminine that equal out to a couple of handfuls of women that have ever been predominantly honored for the wisdom, the value, the leadership, how we've changed evolution, how we've helped humanity evolve, in comparison to the domination of the egocentric patterns and programs that we're all changing and healing. And so many women that are in divine feminine bodies, remember, if you are a male listening to this and you are triggered as well, you have divine feminine energies that are in your field, that are in your bodies, that are also needing healing of this, of being projected as less than, of being projected as not important, to honor your emotions. And so we say these triggering stories because they're meant to be healed. And for me, being a divine feminine that can feel it experientially, through my lineage, through my shamans, through all of the beings that I come with from all planets, all galaxies, through the various levels of the psyche in the collective that I'm able to sense and feel and know, I'm able to express it in a way that's very intimate with me. Because I woke up in tears thinking that I'm at this point in my life where I'm able to honor and accept and acknowledge who I am as divine feminine with great pride and with great sacredness. And it's not, we've gone our whole lives in for me anyways, from my personal experience, that anytime my voice has been risen to a point where, yes, I'm here and I'm ready to be acknowledged, not for any matter of it being any part of ego at all, but to that our voices are required to be heard and honored, so that it's taken outside of the ideologies of it being a protest. Because a divine feminine raises her voices, because remember, all the systems that we've ever existed in will cause discomfort when something new comes in. And the divine feminine voicing her experience in very prideful, honoring, humble, source creative ways will cause discomfort, because it's coming from thousands of years of steeped ego domination programs. And why I had the dream that I did, because it triggered me to release those final divine feminine programs that were still holding back and presenting all of me, that richness of me, that experiential rich being of me, because for thousands of years it was steeped in tragedy of being suppressed, depressed, caged, controlled, conformed, obligated, defined in every way of limitation, that we weren't as equal, we weren't as valued, we weren't as valid. And that experience of just being completely disregarded and dishonored in the way that he projected his pen to say that me being divine feminine was crass, and how he dishonored my beingness for a very valued, intimate, truthful experience of me as source, and how I was subjugated, how I was judged, and how I was suppressed in my beautiful intelligence. Only based on his point of view, of course, and it doesn't have to damage me. But it was the vibrational overlay, the filter that I've taken on for my entire divine feminine lineage, so that I can come forward and start breaking those divine feminine abuses to new ground and raise them up for the divine sacred child that is within each of us. For every person on this planet was birthed by a divine feminine. So how is it in anybody's point of view and perspective to say that any divine feminine is any less than? We've given birth to everybody on the planet. We are all needed. The male is needed for the feminine, the feminine is needed for the male within us each. Same sex as well. LG, however we define ourselves as sexual beings, because it's beyond that, it's oneness, it's allness. But each and every one of us have experienced similar disassociation and separation of our value and our worthiness for no reason at all. And they soulfully hurt. They do. They hurt at a soul level. It de-evolves the species. And divine feminine have been going through it for thousands of years. And why the heavenly programs and the light programs came in to evolve back in 1987 to put in a very aggressive and progressive ascension program. Because without the light entering the cells, which is done through the nurturance and the self-love and the compassion, which are the divine feminine experiences through emotion, we cannot manifest anything unless it's through emotion. And why we've manifested what we have through imbalance, because it's egocentric and it's out of balance. The female bodies are not working in harmony with the male bodies, with the will of the creator and the divine nurturance and love of the divine feminine, the receiving as well as the giving, the receiving as well as the giving. There must be in balance as a multidimensional being. It must be. There's not one person on our planet that is not healing divine bodies and female bodies, divine male energies, divine female energies. There just isn't. You cannot move through ascension without rebalancing your bodies, because each and every one of us were a part of creating that separation. We were the ones that are showing our reflections to ourselves to call in those beings that really trigger us and say, that was so uncalled for, because that just brought through that new beautiful essence of me, that pearl that just emerged because of the sadness that divine feminine have experienced for thousands of years. And it's time for us to start rewriting ourselves back into human history. We get to rewrite, we get to choose. We get to now say, this is who I am today. I'm divine feminine. I'm very wise. I'm a great leader. I'm a really great healer. And I've got profound, profound, profound experience with source. And I'm going to explore it and express it in whatever way I can, with whomever I can, because I get to choose who I love and how I love. And I get to say that with pride. I get to say that with, doesn't matter what anybody else says or does, because I understand the friction foundation now. And as long as I'm always going in and accepting and loving all that I am, I get to detach from all of those other experiences that don't have to take me into places that cause me great harm. That's profound as an evolutionary experience. Every day that, I'm communing and I'm being the best, the best experiential parents that I can. And all my clients and all my classes, it's all about experience and how others harm one another and how others are separating one another. And it's through our communion and our connection with one another that we get to remember that we are that catalytic foundation that say, I'm just going to go in and accept myself, and everybody will catch up when they need to catch up. Because we're all one. We're all going to throw each other how we need to in that reflection to say, maybe I was a little bit harsh and maybe she just needs someone to understand her and listen to her, because who's with her accepting her? Who's with her lifting her up? Who's actually there saying, let's talk about multidimensionality and our healing, physical, mental, emotional, and how that affects the mental imbalances that people have. It's absolutely connected. Make no mistake about that. And why our completely pharmaceutical program will be completely rewritten in 5 years, because it's not needed. It will be needed in conjunction with, not all, being the be all and end all to our healing. Absolutely not. We'll be expanding beyond. And that's people like myself to say, we need to perceive ourselves in a whole new way. We get to be that pearl now. We get to reach farther, reach higher, reach beyond. And I want to experience and co-create with those beings that are absolutely accepting, honoring, and lifting me up and empowering me at that high vibrational experiential level, which I haven't never had in my life. and why it was so very lonely and so very traumatizing. And that one experience with that professor allowed me to heal all of those times that I went for job interviews, that I was harassed in the workplace, that I was put down and controlled in varying ways because I wasn't seen as valid as the male, if you will. And we've all experienced it, whether it be male or female. It's just been done in different ways. So how are we each viewing ourselves as all equal, all one? Those that present us with those energies are the stories within that we're here to, let's get to that story. You know, what energy am I carrying, and how can I release that story from my consciousness? Because we agree with every night when we're going up in spirit, even now, the higher vibrational spirit essence of ourselves are calling those people in to say, okay, tomorrow I want you to trigger me here because I really want to get to the bottom of that story. And I thank you for that. I love you. I'm going to trigger you the next day. In spirit, it's just unconditional love. We're helping each other evolve. But when we're in physical form, it's all about us and them, because that's the egocentric experience. Who's winning, who's losing, who's better, who's less, who gets to prove this, who gets to prove that, as opposed to just releasing the resistance and just allowing the flow. It's all you. It's all you. You're going to let the program go that says you're separate, and you're going to step into the allness of who you are and just say, I'm always experientially rich. And now that I accept it, I'm going to acknowledge it big time. Because when I acknowledge it, I'm calling those people in that are experientially rich too. And they want to fly that way. And that's when that bottleneck gets broken. And it goes through every vibrational thread. Everything in our frequency, everything in creation is vibrational threads. Every moment, it's a spiral of now, 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 now. All timelines are now. So you're releasing those threads, and everything in your now, on all timelines, all forms, all that you are, everything gets a packet of that light that you just made available. And that's rich. That's rich. It's really rich, because those are the experiences that I held back, you know, thinking that it was outer experiences within me. The outer experiences were showing me that there was still resistance and friction there, because it didn't matter what I said, it didn't matter what I created, it didn't matter what I put out there. The essence of who I was not being acknowledged. I can create thousands, and I've got an infinite number of ideas, and I can create whatever it is I want. But the experience of who I am at that rich level had not been met yet. And that was the sadness. But I got to the bottom of it. And as I did, I acknowledged it. I said, wow, I get to say for the first time, Joanna, you are so experientially rich, and I can feel things, and I can sense things, I can hear things, and I can see things in a unique way that's just unique to me. And I'm here to break that bottleneck. I'm here to break that membrane. I'm here to break all that was in every single filter I had ever taken on for myself, for the lineage, for the collective, for the Divine Feminine Collective, for the Sacred Children Collective. I'm breaking it now because I get to say that I am experientially rich, and I get to own it, I get to claim it, and I get to be full in it. IT, capital I, capital T, source, IT, I am as my name is, I was given as I came here. I walk with the heavens, I walk with the heavens, I walk with the heavens. And I get to say and claim it. And now that I claim it and I'm okay with it, and I get to play within it, and I get to be just flowing and non-resistant with it, then all of those stories that I had created before of people coming to me and rejecting me and not accepting me and putting me down, and all of those experiences, manipulating and taking from me, and all of those experiences that were so harmful and painful, because there were stories within me that I had not yet gone to the richness of who I was and fully accepted my greatness. You got to accept your greatness. And it's far beyond what we had ever been given. And you got to get layer by layer by layer, by filter by filter. You keep changing your clothes and nothing fits. Nothing is fulfilling. Okay, well, what is why is that friction still there? Why is it there? And my team just let me sit with it. And I'm sitting there going, okay, let's just sit with this. Let's just sit with the story. Okay, let's sit with it. You know, and you're getting all uncomfortable. Okay. You know, and you're bawling your face off because it's 51 years of you finally accepting and acknowledging all of you in your greatness. And when you get that, everything in your outer reality changes. Because you are accepting you. You get to say that it doesn't matter. The outer reality is an illusion, and only you and only you and only you from deep within get to say, I accept all that I am. I accept all that I am, and that's all that matters. And I'm going to fly, and I'm going to soar, and I'm going to be experientially rich as far and as fast and as wide as I can go, because that's what source is aching from within you. That's why you keep going within. That's why you keep seeking and what's okay, what's now. No, it's within. Your greatness is within. Keep going within. Keep going within. Keep going within. Your richness. You're rich. You're rich. You're rich. And you keep saying, I keep going within. Where is it? Let's go. You know, and it's just like that infinite journey that just never seems to be, you know, solved or resolved. That's that friction. And then you keep saying, well, I'm going to claim my epicenter. My epicenter is so profound. My light is so profound, because you know why? Because there's greatness within me that I have not yet acknowledged. There is greatness within me that has not yet been heard. The voice within me has not yet been heard. Doesn't matter how many papers that I put out there, and doesn't matter how many of this. Right now, I get to say, you know what? Every paper from here on out, I acknowledge it. Every learning module I put out, I acknowledge it. Because before, I'd been doing it to do it. That's the egocentric male experience. Do. It's the do, 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 do. Feeling that because that's what I was brought up in. Always having to do more, always having to please more people, always having to do more homework, always having to do more housework to be accepted and valued and even given any amount of emotional affection. And then also attracting imbalanced relationships that are dysfunctional, codependent, and all of those relationships that just show more of those same patterns of limitation, non-fulfillment. Until you get to the point where, okay, I'm just going to continually to rip away all of these layers of filters and programs and psyche wounds and psyche belief patterns and psyche, all of these things that I have chosen to take on. Because nobody told me I was an empath. Nobody told me I was a crystal child. Nobody told me I was taking on stuff that wasn't mine. But I'm going to do it because I can. Because I'm acknowledging it. I can. If this is one side of the infinity, as we've shown in our... If the density is on this side of the infinity, then you have exactly what you need on this side of it to experience the opposite. So if you've gotten yourself in a pickle here, centering within your divine sacred heart, the diamond heart that you are with source creator, your divine mother and your divine father energy, that sacred child excitement of you can push you out and receive the equal new life, that equal acceptance. You've got to accept it and acknowledge how profound you are within your center first. I acknowledge who I am. I'm great. I can experience things like no other. And that's my gift. That's my gift. That's my gift. And I'm going to create within that gift. I'm going to go as far and as deep and as wide as I can. Nobody can copy. Nobody can take from. Nobody can change. Nobody can alter the experience that I have with source. Nobody, no one, no system, no thing. Can't be. Source won't allow it. That's my gift. Each of you have your own experiential gift. And this is what's so profound. That was my other epiphany, is that as I was getting to this, I was like, wow, that's who I am. I'm Joanna. I've always put myself down because I always felt so different, like I didn't belong. That's the richness of who I am. That's the light of who I am. And then they were showing me, and that's everybody else's gift. And that's for you to acknowledge also and empower and uplift all others, because their unique gift of experience with source is unique and different. And they get to bring their own expression. They get to call their soul through and say, soul, live through me. I've just called in a soul fragment. I've just healed myself. I've just given myself unconditional love. And I want you to express yourself through me. Come on. And my soul said, we want to play with you. Open up. Let's go. We're here to play with you as spirit. Spirit with spirit, spirit with spirit, spirit with spirit. We're here with you. We want to play with you. We are here to play with you. And you've got an infinite number of gifts. You are just touching the pin of the, whatever it's called, you know, thank you, spirit. You're just touching the tip of the iceberg of what you're able to tap into. That's that experiential rich. You got to go within it and expand it. Your consciousness expands into creation, going deep within the richness of you and expanding within it, not holding yourself back because it doesn't match the outer reality. It's not supposed to, not meant to. That outer reality is a fabrication of limitation and fear and greed and egocentricity of doing, not the being. That's the divine feminine, to be the essence of who we are as source, to be present. Divine feminine is a being energy. It's a being vibration. It's to be in the emotion. It's to be in your state of essence with source. It's the being. You can't get it by doing. That's where we're shifting. And everything in our society will flip and flop. Because we get to be our rich selves. We get to be the fulfillment. And that's where I'm getting really excited, because I haven't experienced that yet. That moment through which I experienced myself as saying, I get to acknowledge myself as Joanna when I was born in this planetary experience. Part of my soul's coming here with the mother and the father was because I am experientially rich. I get to awaken experientially at a multidimensional vibrational level through which I can teach, I can offer, I can sing, I can co-create, through which all others perhaps can be activated and as well. And it's rich. That's part of me. That's like my DNA. And now I get to be so happy and excited to just say, yes, let's go, let's go. Like the little kid, that's that rebirth, the rebirth experience, where all those other aspects of you, the other versions of you get to be those friction points where you just say, I don't need it anymore. Let go, let go, let go. I'm getting farther and deeper and richer. And it's separate than the rabbit hole, because there's many people that talk about going down the rabbit hole and it being somewhat of a negative connotation. And it's not it at all. It's the alchemizing. We wanted the experience of alchemizing. I'm already clearing, just saying that, because that's what they said to me. You wanted the experience to alchemize yourself. You wanted to know that you could do this, that I've worked so hard, so many eons, so many timelines, so many generations I've come here, and I've never got myself to this point before. And this is what's kind of, kind of like on the edge of my seat too, because as I'm on the edge of my seat, my teams are going, this has never been done before, Joanna. And I think what I've created is really beautiful. And I think what I've created and all that I have yet to create is so profound and beautiful. It's me. It's a beautiful experience, and it's a beautiful exploration. It's a beautiful gift of everything I've gone through. And I've done it by me in spirit, me and my guides, and me and my illustrator. No one else has had their hands in any of my creations than the guides that I call in and we channel information through. It's been my personal transmutational experience that I create stuff within, and it's a beautiful stuff. And I get to call it me. It's experientially rich. It's beautiful. It's my offering to humanity that I've done quite devotionally and quite passionately, and received very little, if anything, for any of it, besides the personal classes and the private sessions that I put on to teach people that are really at the forefront, wanting to transmute who they are and go farther and farther and farther. But because of where I'm at, I get to say that with great grace and excitement and beauty now, because it's been such a very challenging and hard journey that oftentimes didn't have to be as hard as it was if the programs and the filters and the overlays that I had taken on had been so dense. And so very hard, so very hard. And Source, and all of the heavens that are backing me up, allowing me to say that, wow, you've got some great stuff. This is only the beginning. And how I've created the sacred voice and the sacred light language to come in and epitomize the beauty of the transmutational journey, the ascension journey, the self-actualization journey. So the self-actualization journey was me actualizing all of those versions of me that I had held myself captive in what I had been born into, as each of us are. We're each born into environments, and we're each born into ideologies and notions that are not ours. I get to play now. And I get to actualize myself into bigger and vaster and wider expansiveness of me. Because me was Source. It's all that matters. And I'm going to attract everything in my path that is experientially rich. Because I've owned it, I've claimed it. And all of those other stories are resolved. And I get to say no with all of those other stories. Because I know that it's not, I get to claim it all, and that's not who I am. I can just perceive it and observe it. Because I understand. And you get to rise above, if you will. And we say that in the context of being in the world, but not of it. That's what is meant by that. You get to experience the world and all of its richness. You get to navigate all of the vibrations in its richness. And you get to choose by stepping back and detaching, not attaching yourself to any one moment or any one being or any one energy. And that's mastery. It takes a lot of practice. It takes a lot of practice to understand boundaries. That was a huge thing, boundaries. Because I had infinitely given myself away in infinite experiences, even to those that had no right, taking from me in the way that they did. because I didn't set those boundaries up. I had to learn those lessons the hard way. And you have to know that if you're going to be a master. You have to know how to give, who to give, when to set boundaries, when to say no. Understand that rich connection with spirit that says you can't partake in that. That's up to them to resolve. They have to do that on their own. You cannot help. And knowing when to be just a lantern and when to be the fisher and when to be a hands-on healer, how much to heal, how much to let go of. And you get to choose through your own self-actualization by figuring yourself out first. It can only be done that way. And so that's the eternal beauty of you. It's constant alchemization of your acknowledgement in your greatness. And for me, my greatness that I've come here with is a DNA that's rich in experience, the source. And I get to navigate back and forth. And everything that I perceive in my reality are all aspects of a version of what I need to see to understand the grand story, knowing how to detach, knowing how to heal, how to not heal, how to step back. I get to now navigate at a richer, grander, vaster, bigger level, which is what they were preparing me for. To eventuate every experience that I could navigate through the rich vibrational change that 3 to 5D is, and be a master leader teacher in it so that I can be the most richest and fullest, vastest being of me. So it was all required. All those friction moments were required. I called all of them in at some level so that I could get to that point where say, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. Nope, absolutely not. Doors closed. No going back. Sometimes you have to meet that level, and you get to say no more. You get to close that door. You get to alchemize those energies from that experience. And that's what's called reconcile. When we talk about reconciliation, there's the misunderstanding that reconciliation means you just pick up where you left off. No, reconciliation means that you as a spiritual soul get to make right on the energies through an uncomfortable experience energetically. And you get to make it right for you so that those energies are reconciled. Whatever had occurred that was uncomfortable, that was not balanced, that was not fair, you get to make it right so that in that next experience of those two souls again gets to be brought into a new experience, because source will transmute those energies when it's done so, when it's reconciled. When each person walks away with their understanding of what happened, and they get to go back and they get to muse upon their own unique experiences, and they get to honor the perspective of each other, and then take away and then process it and transmute it and integrate it. And then they get to come up with their own perspective of what happened and then alchemize it. And then, because it's always a constant eternal alchemization. But source will often bring you back to those karmic experiences so that you can reconcile those energies and why they keep coming back until you absolutely close the door and say, these experiences will no longer take place. The door is closed. And source will alchemize anything that we choose as individual souls not to recognize, not to heal, not to accept, not to acknowledge. That's what's meant by reconciliation. Reconciliation may also occur that the people come back and say, okay, let's try again based on our new now knowledge. And then there's part of that reconciliation that is very valid that many of us take on that say, no, I'm happy with the story the way it was left in separate ways because I want to alchemize in a different way now. And that's reconciling what had been. Door closed, new cycle. And that's how we karmically reconcile the energies. So in any way that you can, if you're coming out of really challenging relationships and things that have hurt you and things that have gone back, your soul will continually call in similar experiences, similar people, similar patterns until you reconcile the story. Reconcile the story within, which for me was standing in my truth and saying enough. You can't just keep taking, no more. The door is not always open. The door is not infinite access to Joanna. No more. And you got to go through so many experiences before you get to that inner strength, because throughout my whole life, I was told that, I was placed in outer perspectives and outer experiences that were telling me who I was and what I had to do and what my role and definition was. Well, no, I'm now awakened and I get to choose who I am and what I give and who I give to. So now I'm a free and sovereign being, and I get to stand with that because I'm in charge of my epicenter. I'm in charge of who I get to give to. I'm in charge of who accesses my light. I'm in charge of my consciousness. I am in charge of the beauty of who I am. I am in charge of the wisdom and the intelligence that I co-create with, and I get to choose. And I choose to choose. So this door is closed. And that allows all others in the story to go away and transmute and alchemize and do whatever they need to do, step up or not step up, if they choose to be a part of that same vibration. And if not, it's all valid, it's all true, it's all real, it's all good. There's no judgment on any of it. But through my own personal experiences, they were very traumatic and very difficult and very painful. And I've done that now. That's done. The pain is done. You know, the pain of all the karmic, you know, stories and games, because there were stories within me that I had to reconcile. I didn't even know they were there, some of those stories. But some of those stories also too were part of the collective that I have come as a collective agreement to heal and to teach on, to offer. Because there's going to be people that I will have to be a part of healing, that I have to know the alchemy of it, to know how to heal as a vibrational healer. And how it affects the chakras and the multidimensional bodies, and how you're owning your own consciousness, so that there is no outer vibration that affects you, as Master Jesus showed me. So I had to go through those experiences to become that full self-actualized being, and say, yes, I get to actualize myself. I'm actualizing me. Actualizing me means that I get to say, I get it. I'm reconciling my end of it. I'm reconciling it. I'm forgiving it. I'm letting it go. I'm being grateful in my compassion. I'm being grateful for every person on the journey. It's all one. It's all me. I get it because I needed it. I needed that story. I needed that friction for full acceptance. That's my greatness. You get to alchemize that in your greatness too. Everyone that's caused you challenge and pain and triggers, you get to alchemize and say, what part of that is me? What part of that is my story? What part of that do I get to play with now as part of my gift? Whatever your gift is. Because again, each part of that beautiful epiphany was that each person is all rich in their own unique discovery of their experience. And that's why we've been saying forever that everyone is beautiful and unique and blessed and rich and bountiful in their own experience of source. Everyone is needed, regardless of the package, regardless of the color of skin, regardless of how we've defined it in our reality, the aged, however many disenfranchised group that we've defined and pocketed and put limitations on. Everything is a vibration that's absolutely required in the puzzle of all that we are as this elegant system of evolution. Each of us bringing each of us along for the journey. It's all required. It's all needed. It's all needed. And that's what's so beautiful. You get to find like, yes, I get it. I get me. Because if I get me, that means there's going to be a better chance of me connecting with someone that also wants that rich experience of me. Because I want to be rich with me again. I'm not holding back. I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to suppress myself. I'm not going to be anything different than the richness of me. And I will absolutely magnetize that equal measure. And that's exciting. That's when my team said, reach up and reach beyond. You get to go now. You get to go, you get to go, you get to go. You got it. You got the lesson. It's like, oh, wow, it only took me 51 years. You know? Oh, it was like a profound epiphany. So I had to share it. Yay! I get to have a party now and go celebrate and be rich in it, because everybody on the journey is needed and required. Everybody. And those that have been with me, you know, over the many, many years that we've been offering and teaching and alchemizing and understanding the human ascension journey and the evolution that we all take. Everybody on the ride is so beautiful and they're needed and required. Everybody is a valued part of Source's family. Everyone is blessed, and everybody is on their own unique path that's very sacred, that's very challenging, that's very difficult. And everybody is a part of that sacred experience that gets to go within and say, how do I want to experience myself as Source? As Source. Doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. Doesn't matter what anybody else says about you. Doesn't matter what anybody else experiences of you, because that's their perspective based on their consciousness, what they've come to work through. Your perspective of them is saying, thank you, I'm one with you. Thank you for being that trigger and that friction for me to get to the bottom of my own story. And I love you, I accept you. And then you get to be in the world, but not of it. You're not being a part of their experience of you. No, you get to choose your experience of you. And you're going to call in those reflections that you need to be in the world, but not of it. And that's profound. You know, in the infinite number of ways that we can explain it and express it as the vastness of who we are as physical, mental, emotional, etheric beings, source essence that's moving through vibrational ascension from 3 to 5D. We're so grateful. Thank you, Spirit. Spirit that's with us right now, showing us our acceptance. We thank you so much. And we love you, and we honor you, and we thank you so much for being a part of our sacred tribe. Those of you that want to donate, the link is below. Don't forget, we have Sacred World Ascension classes every Saturday at 11. Saturday at 11, we talk about similar things. We talk about self-care programs. We do a light language activation, and you get to ask me questions at the end, and we get to commune and talk with the teams and the heavenly councils, always aligning with the higher light councils for evolution of the multidimensional bodies. And we thank everybody, and we love you. We rainbow you. We rainbow you, we rainbow you, we rainbow you as the eternal beauty of you. The eternal beauty that you're always becoming, you're always self-actualizing, you're always becoming more. And everybody is needed and required and a part of the beautiful song. Each person is a beautiful note within the song that is source. And we love each and every one of you for being a part of our experience. Bye, everybody. Bye, sacred family. Bye.